Today I'm going to show you guys some of the best comps for patch 9.17. Of course, we have the new champion Pantheon in the game, and I gotta say, he's extremely strong and he's very popular. He's almost an insta pick right now for most comps, and I can almost guarantee you guys he's definitely going to be getting a nerf and probably around patch 9.17b. But anyways, let's start off with the first strong comp right now that you can play in ranked mode is this one right here. This is the standard Ranger combo, but instead of having Leona, you're gonna have the Pantheon. And that's right, this guy's just really strong. And in general, if you want to have the Guardian combo, I would recommend you go for Pantheon and Braum instead of Leona because Nobles are not as good anymore. The 6 Noble thing is not as consistent either. This build is much more consistent. You also have Glacial synergy, remember, with Braum, Sejuani, and Ashe. And if you can make a Frozen Mallet with this kind of combination, you can put it on a Kindred or Varus, and you got 4 Glacials right off the bat. So that's why it's a great choice to have Pantheon and Braum together, and then you're going to have your 2 Knights, which are going to be Mordekaiser and Sejuani. Sejuani is a great champion. She crowd controls everybody with the Glacial Prison. She's an insane champion still to this day, so she's a great tank to have. And Mordekaiser works really well with Kindred as they both have the Phantom bonus. Now, in the very late game, you could possibly drop the Mordekaiser and put in the Karthus, because Karthus is actually quite strong, and he's not very oftenly picked by a lot of people. So he's very easy to get to like 2 stars maybe if no one buys him, and there's a very good chance that in a lot of your games, a lot of your opponents will not buy a Karthus. Varus is very strong as well with his piercing arrow, and Ashe is of course gonna still be your main carry. She's still the strongest ranger out of these 4, and some of the best items you can put on her is going to be static shivs, rapid fire cannons, and more static shivs, or you can add in a red buff if you want. For Pantheon, I like these tanky items like Warmog's armor or Thormail because he's a guardian, and he's also going to be immune to magic damage if you had a dragon in this team, but the dragon is not necessary. If you did want to have dragon as a 9th champion, you can, or you could even replace the Mordekaiser with a dragon. You can put Aurelion Sol into the mix here, and Aurelion Sol is a really good champion as well. If you also give him, items like Morelos, or you give him items like Rabadon or Luden's Echo, he's going to do a lot of ability power damage. So you can also think about those combos as well. Keep in mind that not all of these builds are always going to be like this in each of your games. They're not set in stone. You can always mix and match, but this is kind of the core composition. So once again, this is your standard Guardian Knight Ranger build that is quite strong in the game with the new champion Pantheon. This second comp utilizes Dragons, Guardians, Elementalists, and Shapeshifters. So in the front line, you're going to have your tanky, newly buffed Shyvana. Just to let you guys know, the new Shyvana is very strong. And if you can get your hands on her, I would definitely buy her. If you plan to use Pantheon or Aurelion Sol in the mix, I think Shyvana is a very good champion. She's very solid, and if you want to go for Shapeshifters, of course, she's pretty much essential for any Shapeshifter build. So you got your Swain late game as well. Swain, he did get a minor nerf, but he's still very strong. And then you also have Gnar as well. He got a buff in patch 9.16b, so he's a lot stronger than before, and Gnar does a ton of crowd control. He's just a very good champion overall as well. And then you got your Guardian midline with Pantheon, Braum, so you get extra shield, and you get the dragon bonus, of course, on Pantheon and Shyvana, making them very difficult to kill. You got your 3 elementalists in the back, Cannon, Brand, and Anivia. Now, Anivia is not really necessary for this build, so instead of her, you can put a Lysandra, of course, because Anivia doesn't feel that strong. She's okay. If you give her some items, of course, she'll be strong, but I think she's not the best 5 gold champion in the game right now, so she's not really necessary for this build. And this is a very good, consistent build that will definitely land you in the top 4 position. These are some of the items that I would recommend you put on Gnar and Swain in the front line, and even Shyvana. For your frontline champions, Guardian Angel is really good because they get to revive, and they'll definitely transform at least once with the Guardian Angel. That's really important for your Shapeshifters. The new Hex deck, even though it got a nerf, it's great for Shyvana. And if you pair it up with something like Warmog, she gets to heal a lot, she has a lot of health, and she can just duke it out and kill a lot of champions before she goes down. She really is very strong in this new meta. Morelos is still a pretty good item. This item got a nerf as the burn damage is not as high as it was before, but on Swain it's amazing with Dragon's Claw. So this is kind of still the same build for Swain. Swain is still a very amazing champion if you have this kind of build on him. And Morelos in general is great for these champions as well, like Brand, Cannon, Anivia. If they can all do burn damage over time, that's still good for them as well. Brand is also very strong. and he gets a bit of a demon burn mana bonus with Swain. The demon bonus is definitely not something to be underrated. The demon bonus is very good, so I'd highly recommend you have some sort of 2 demons in this build. Now, of course, the build can be varied. If you didn't have a Swain, let's say, you could go for another demon. If you didn't have a Nivea, of course, you're going to go for Lysandra or for something else. You might not have 3 shapeshifters in this build, but that's fine. Or you might not even need a Braum. Let's say a lot of your opponents are mainly ability power damage, then the extra Guardian armor really doesn't do much. So you don't actually need the Braum necessarily. You could even swap out Pantheon for Aurelion Sol. So this is kind of like the ideal build, but remember, in every game, it's all situational. You might not get the Pantheon, you might not get the Swain, so you got to think about what you can put in to replace these champions. As you guys see, Pantheon is in a lot of these top ideal builds because he's just that good right now. But this is going to have some voids in the mix, so let's talk about this composition. It's going to be Kassadin, Cho'Gath, Rek'Sai in the front line for your voids, and then you got your Pantheon once again and Braum in the middle for the Guardian Shield, and then you got some sorcerers here. You got Aurelion Sol, Morgana. You got the 3 sorcerer bonus with Kassadin, and then you have Brand as well. And what I like to do is build Darkin in this kind of build. Let's say on Aurelion Sol, I'll put the Darkin on him, so I'll have 2 demons on the board. I already have 2, sorry, I already have Morgana as the second demon, but I like to give Aurelion Sol, or maybe if this is a Karthus is a great sorcerer as well. I'd like to give them a Darkin because sorcerers love to gain mana back. Getting mana back really quickly is a great thing for these sorcerers. And Aurelion Sol and Karthus, if they can spam their ultimate like 3 times per round, your opponents are going to have a really hard time surviving against that. So it's a great item for any sorcerers that you want to put it on. Sometimes I like to put the Darkin on Cho'Gath as well because Cho'Gath is still a very good champion, and the voids are definitely one of the strongest compositions. Still, in my opinion, I think the voids are still one of the strongest in the game because of Cho'Gath. Cho'Gath is amazing. His Rupture is absolutely busted. Does tons of damage. If you have the true damage up, like this guy is super annoying to deal with. And of course, the best items on him is still Guardian Angel because then he can revive and put another Rupture up. He has tons of health because he's a brawler as well. And Morelos is great on Cho'Gath as well because burn damage and true damage really is great with the mix here. So this is a really strong composition once again. But if you don't need the Guardian Shield, you can take out the Braum. You can put a 4th demon here. If you have a Darkin, then you'll have 4 demons on the board, right? So you could put a Swain in if you get a Swain. Swain is still an amazing champion. Great demon champion, so he goes well into this mix. Or of course you can put in Aatrox if you want a 4th demon instead of the Swain if you don't get the Swain. If you still want the Guardian Shield but you don't want the Pantheon, you can put in a Leona, and that's the same for the other comps that I just showed you guys with Pantheon. Anything with Pantheon can be replaced with Leona or Braum, just to let you guys know. But once again, the Guardians are not mandatory if your opponents are not using a lot of auto attack damage comps. So you gotta scout your opponents, look at what they're building, because Guardians are mainly good because they give you the bonus armor. But aside from the bonus armor, they're not that great. So they're not good against comps that do a lot of true damage like Voids, or sorcerers that do a lot of magic damage. Now for this 4th comp, this looks a lot similar to a build that was already really strong before, and this build is actually still quite consistent. It has been consistent since patch 9.15, I believe, ever since the Voids got a buff. This is basically your standard Void Brawler 3 Assassin build. So you got your Kha'Zix, Akali, or instead of Akali, you can have a Zed. Zed is pretty easy to get a 3 stars. And then you have a Rengar here, and Rengar is going to be your main carry, of course, with the same items. This build still works: Rapid Fire Cannon, Bloodthirster, Guardian Angel, Warwick, and then Cho'Gath. This build, once again, is really amazing on him with Rek'Sai and Blitzcrank, for example. So this is kind of your standard 4 Brawler, 3 Void, 3 Assassin, and Rengar carry build, and it's still quite good. And the reason why I put this up here is because it's consistent. This is one of those builds that you can pretty much get up in a lot of your games because the Rengar build is no longer very popular. So if you can get a Rengar, and getting these items are actually not as hard as you guys think it is. If you don't get these items at all, that's fine. You can always mix it up. It's not necessary for you to have the Bloodthirster or even the rapid fire cannon. I would say Guardian Angel is the most necessary item for Rengar, but as long as you give him, 2 other items that will synergize well on him, you're gonna have this build work pretty well. And let's say you have a Seraph that's really good on Akali. Akali's still quite strong if you get her to at least 2 stars, of course. But instead of Akali, you could always opt in to put in a Zed. You can also, instead of doing this build, you can take out the Blitzcrank, take out the Warwick, and you can put in 2 more assassins, and then put a 3rd assassin once you hit level 8. So that means you'll have 6 assassins, because right now 6 assassins are stronger than it was before. So even though this build is quite old, it's still working pretty well. It's still consistent, and will get you into at least top 4 position if you can get something like this. And it's pretty easy to pull off, and that's why I wanted to show you guys this comp. So give it a shot if you do want to try this comp once again. For the final comp I want to show you guys is one of my favorite comps. This is the 6 demon comp, and this is the ideal version of the 6 demons. So let's start off with the first champion. It's going to be Gnar, and what I like to do is make him into a Darkin, and I like to give him a Guardian Angel if possible. If not, that's fine. I can just give him a Darkin, and he's usually fine. Gnar is very strong, and he's going to be able to transform fast enough before he dies with this item. And because he's going to be a demon as well, he's going to be doing some mana burn. And Gnar is just a very good champion. He works well in this comp because you're going to have 3 shapeshifters. The next champion is going to be Cho'Gath. Sometimes I like to slap a Darkin on Cho'Gath. If not, that's fine. Once again, the items I like to go for him is Guardian Angel and Morelos, or I'll go for something else, or I won't put any items on him if I decide to put the items on some other champions. Cho'Gath is usually strong enough, once again, to be able to put a Rupture at least once, and even though he doesn't get the Void bonus here, the Rupture is very strong, and it does a lot of crowd control, and because of the area of effect is so huge, it's going to be able to hit most champions on the board, and that's what Cho'Gath is here for. He's here to be your tank, and he's supposed to be doing a lot of crowd control damage on your opponents, which is a very good thing to have in this kind of comp. And then the third champion is going to be Swain. Swain is going to be one of the main carries in your 6 demon build. Once again, my favorite items are Guardian Angel and Morelos. Does tons of burn damage, gets to revive, and probably gets to ult 2 to 3 times with the Guardian Angel. And Swain is just a really good champion overall. You guys probably already know this. Now let's take a look at Evelynn, and she's definitely one of the strongest demons in the game. This build, if you get this on her, Dragon's Claw, Hextech, and Guardian Angel, she is busted. She is actually overpowered with this build. And she's one of those champions that are being bought sometimes, but she's not being bought a lot. So she's also quite easy to get at 3 stars. And at 3 stars, she's gonna be like doing so much damage. She's gonna be doing so much healing with the Hextech. And then you have to kill her again because she has a Guardian Angel. She's very difficult to deal with. Evelynn, I think, will get a nerf in the next patch. If Riot doesn't care, they probably won't. But I've seen people use this build, and I've seen this type of Evelynn beat comps that comp shouldn't have. And then we're gonna have Morgana. She's a very strong demon. Once again, she's gonna be just a standard staple for this build. We have Brand as well. Brand is another staple demon, definitely one of the strongest demons in the game right now with Evelynn and Swain. And then you're gonna have Nidalee, who's going to be your wild and shapeshifter support. So she's your 3rd shapeshifter, and she's going to be doing wild attack speed bonus for Gnar and Nidalee. So Gnar is going to transform faster, he's going to be attacking more, Gnar is going to be doing a lot more damage. So Nidalee is just kind of here for support. And then the final demon is Aatrox. I think Aatrox is a very strong demon as well, usually underrated, and another champion I think that's pretty easy to get to 3 stars because almost no one buys him. Almost no one is playing Blade Masters. Usually you see Aatrox and Blade Master comps, so Aatrox should be very easy to get to 3 stars if you have enough gold by the late game. So this is the perfect ideal version of the 6 demon, 2 wild, 3 shapeshifter build. I've tried this build a couple times already, and even in rank mode, I was first place like many times with this type of build. If not first, at least second place. I think 6 demons are one of the strongest comps in the game right now, and they're often overlooked and underrated. Now, of course, this build can be varied, and I don't get this build all the time. So let's say you don't get the Swain and you don't have a Gnar, for example. So you're gonna put in a Elise, you're gonna put a Varus, so you're gonna have 6 demons instead of these 2, right? So you can always complete the 6 demons somehow without Swain or Gnar. or you don't even need to have 6 demons. Sometimes 4 demons is just fine enough. You're always gonna at least get Brand and Morgana, and Varus and Aatrox. These 4 champions are usually the core demon champions I have in the mid game, and I usually keep them depending on if I get the other demons or not. Sometimes I opt in the Evelynn, of course, instead of the Varus. So I'll have Evelynn, Morgana, Brand, and Aatrox or something like that. Usually Morgana and Brand I always keep. I'd recommend you guys always try to get the Brand. Brand should definitely be easy to get because he's only a 4 gold champion. But you know, this is all situational once again, and if you don't get the Swain, that's fine. You can always swap Swain for some other demon. But I'm just letting you guys know right now, 6 demons are very consistent. If you force 6 demons, you put the right items on them like the ones I've shown you guys in this video, you're going to do very well in ranked. You're going to be climbing up the rank ladder pretty quickly and getting yourself in the top 4 positions. But anyways, these are some of the comps that I want to show you guys that are working very well in ranked mode for patch 9.17. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Hope this helped you guys out once again. Remember to hit that like button as well, and I'll see you guys next time.